mm, inspiration supporters in the beginning, I would say. Welcome, Felix.
Thanks for the introduction.
What brings you here?
Um,
It's good to see you.
so Lydia is supposed to, well, Lydia is my girlfriend. She asked me to join today because I would like to, yeah, do the research she is doing as part of her traineeship. Yeah, I'd like to contribute to that.
All right.
And
All right.
also,
Yes.
so the TEC is part of my case study on the Common Stack, and yeah, I want to use that to also gather some data, and yeah, fill in some blanks.
Perfect.
That's great. Can
And
you please,
Lydia is
Felix, give
basically.
us an overview of the last year's gathering of the association and what it emerges there? Because we are just speaking about this new regeneration or regenerative trend. Do you think that's a trend? Because I think you were focusing on that as well. Can you give us your opinion on that or what you saw in the gathering?
Yes, sure. In the Refi unconference we just had last month in the beginning of May.
Right.
So to me, Refi is in the end just another, mostly another name or another hashtag for, well, crypto commons in a way, for blockchain for good, progressive crypto, and you know it reverberates very much all these ideals. It's though a more less abstract notion because it has this attachment to nature in a way. So the gathering itself was well, interesting and all and fun, but it also brought about that there were a lot of questions, a lot of criticism with more straightforward tokenization of nature and focus on carbon credits to some degree. There was a lot of focus on language, or rather on how terms in refi, same as in crypto overall, are used misleadingly. For example, the notion of a reserve for Klima DAO would make you assume that this reserve can really back the token, as in it can be sold to raise the price of a token, but that was not the case. So this reserve does actually not hold up the price. And there are many other examples that were conversations that we had around imprecise wording. But yeah, overall it was a very interesting gathering, and it was great to see again a group of people forming and staying in contact after. So we just recently had our first decompression call after, and it was great to see how many people are well on fire in a way to get something done together.
That's cool. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
And what is your research again? Like your background is also, or your focus is from anthropological discipline, or?
It's mostly political science and economics,
Economics.
or yeah, my
Okay.
background is political science, economics, and international development studies, but more on the qualitative research side than quants. Qualitative and theory.
Yeah, and Lydia, by the way, was then the first person. Felix said, okay, actually, Lydia's, I never get it right, but anthropologist and peace studies, or really into the topics also that are in working group gravity, like conflict and so on. And she is, one of those researchers that I would love to have accompanying whatever it is we're doing here, we're figuring out, and why, now that we have really in Omega this transdisciplinarity that includes arts and science, which is really big in my view. I see it only in other areas, the curve labs, that I see it, that this is happening. And of course, Dada, like the artist community, is actually owning the owning tech, or owning up to the technological freedoms that are available. And I just feel like we need more support on the sense making side from people who are actually from that such disciplines, that they look into do the qualitative research and really reason about what is happening, what is this movement, right? And what is the ethos? So hoping that she will join. And
sorry, but she's stuck in traffic in Tunis,
okay.
Which is quite hard to manage.
Problem. No problem, but I just see that there's a possibility that she could be doing accompanying research, and that would be, of course, very good. We could pick up the ethics focus groups again. In the meantime, we have collected some more interesting questions, but the obvious questions actually, like, what is this for? What are we optimizing for? And this is basically what you also said, like a lot of confusion about what finance should be for and what it is, how it is implemented. It's detached and decoupled from real economics and human relationships and value creation, and just putting it on permissionless tech does not at all solve for any of those, but actually, in a sense, exacerbates it. So yeah, that would be more on the T ethics part. Basically, just a placeholder. Maybe that topic could also get more.
Sorry,
more center stage. No problem. So that would be more less Omega general, but more T ethics, I think. But okay. But so many things have been happening.
This last point you're just pointing out, like, we are discovering this permissionless tech, but it does not solve problems. I'm super on this week. It's like, yeah, this is like the final knowledge for me this week.
Yeah. It doesn't give direction, right? We still have to find it ourselves with immense freedom. So that's quite an interesting space to be in.
It is, after all, just a tool.
Yeah.
The tool,
exactly.
What it does is based on the holder, or the controller.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, should we move ahead with the call here? So who would like to start with providing updates on where you've directed energy this past week and how has energy flowed back to you, or like if there's anything specific you want to talk about based on the different initiatives in Omega. Who'd like to go first?
Yeah, I can start. Hello, everyone. I've been working a little bit on doing some visuals on the wireframes. First, I put them on the ones that Mert, he made like a little example for on Miro or on Miro. So then I kind of like worked on remaking the visuals so that they're nice for the website. And then I saw a few days after that Nick was also building this huge idea, which I think is really nice. So I'm now kind of working on this. So I'm just translating what are the potential architectures and ideas into a visual layout. I can add the link. I also added it to the already existing Figma board, which has already quite a lot of information on it. And besides this, I'm just making a lot of these little blobs because maybe it's nice to create another game which would be What the Blob. So that's just a loose idea. I don't know if you remember those little icons.
Yeah, from the original one. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones in the Notion. There were like 2 Notion versions, so I made like a lot of blobs there, but I don't know how to integrate them in this kind of greenish stuff, more the Dungeons and Dragons things, because I did some typo things on the, you know, like I'm trying just to make the same typography as the Dungeons and Dragons thing, so kind of playing a little bit with that. And from there, I'm just thinking of like how far should I go in like making the visuals and just kind of bringing it to some kind of like concrete idea. Because in the last meeting it was a bit idea to get something done for this Wednesday, but of course I'm going slower than my mind went, so I still have a lot of work. And also I'm thinking of like how to actually work that we're not constantly working in doubling, but that we can kind of find a way that that there's a workflow that is not always dissipating energy and proliferating, but that it also kind of flows back and condensates. And I don't know if I should just provide some kind of structure or maybe just kind of work by myself, or I don't know. There I think I need to ask others, like how is it going with the map? How is it going with the NFT? And how is it going with the DEP? So what are the structures there? Because if I'm just working in the blue with thinking of like how to translate one idea into some visual idea, then it's a lot of like work to constantly rethink it, which is also a nice challenge, of course. Okay, that's my blog.
Is there a concrete case of work duplicated that we understand where does it happen or which
I just posted it on the thread in the. I just posted the thread in the thread on the what's it called, the Consilience thread.
Library. Yeah.
And also where Nick actually builded it on there, I integrated the other Figma board, so you can. It's called this UX thing, so you can just kind of. You can also just edit it yourself, basically. So.
Mm-hmm.
So we have
so the duplicate work. Yeah, so I think in terms of like architecture, Satori, Letty, and Stefan Mert were kind of working on one library architecture and also like ideas for like the visuals for the library. I was also working on architecture and like wireframes and visual design for the library. And Steph kind of
does that
works on
actually
both.
help? Okay. And what do you think, like, in one case, you could also see this as people actually who can contribute those things are doing and uh, um, expressing what is in their minds and putting it out there. Doesn't that help in actually seeing the potential and seeing where collaboration can happen, or where someone else, is farther, faster, better, and one would do some other domains, like, could we use that, not saying duplication as in, oh, we know exactly what this is and this is the exact duplicate of what has been done, but actually making use of these expressions to see what are the collaboration areas. Um,
It's duplicate in that
question.
the work is not actually the same, but more like people are working on the same thing, which is cool if you're okay with that, I guess, if everyone's okay with it. But I know for sure from the onboarding team, what I think it was mentioned that it kind of felt like, yeah, it was just like, well, what then? What do we do now? Because the work that we were working on, it turns out that the game, or what we saw on the last working group call, was pretty much like an Omega onboarding. So then it's like, oh, okay, well, it's just the same thing. We're already low energy anyway. Let's not continue working on the
Yeah,
same
I think
thing.
I think like last week we were duplicating kind of the work because we had this week this call on Monday and we were singing up to this architecture. There was Steph, Satori, me, well, several people, and you, the onboarding team, were working at the same time in the other onboarding stuff, and then we coalesced things and we saw, okay, this is like duplication because it was the same initiative, but like different lookalikes. So I feel like it was like energies towards the initiative, but then this was too thin. Like people didn't feel they were doing effective work. It is not like it's duplicated in a way because the initiatives were there and all the people were like a little bit interested in working in this consciousness library, but then we saw like it was duplicating energies more than work, like trying to work on the same things from a different perspective. So, and then not coordinating this within the group. Yeah.
Yeah, like if someone's already low energy, it doesn't feel like it's worth directing energy towards something. Yeah,
even
if
if
someone
you're
else is
interested in that, yes, you're working on that, but then it's like you're losing energy.
Yeah.
And if it's onboarding, we talk about this, it's like this super too big thing and it's not, there has no focus. I see that like super prone to be depleting energies from people. Like if this has this super broad focus, it's like very prone to do that as well. That's it. I'm exhausted too, so I'm not the best person to talk today. Yeah. I will be taking care of as well for my energies. That's for those of you who have not been here before, we did this reflection exercise when we were trying to analyze personally where our levels of energy are and where do we give energies to and where do we get energies from. And I just have this super enlightening moment when I see that I'm close to burnout. So it's just, I think there is no like these questions about what is energizing me or not. It's like at which level am I right now? And it's not only for Omega. I have these too many responsibilities inside this space, and of course it's interrelated. And when I feel I'm not giving my whole energies to Omega, I just feel like the group is at the same level. So it's like all is interconnected, really.
And also, this is basically where then the research on regenerative working flows should really kneel in and then figure out what it is. Again, or coming from other projects, what I see is what I see is, okay, jobs to be done, things that are always done the same way, and even in this crazy novel way of creating a library and the novel experience of this library, things will be done the same, like this coordination, who is doing what, or how many people are currently thinking about design. It can be amazingly um, source of abundance, right? But not, of course, if we think that it's duplicating work, right? So definitely, and then yeah. So I would be interested in figuring how figure this out, but from the regenerative workflow perspective. It's a definitely like communications issue.
Yeah, I keep on
Yeah, go ahead.
I keep on going
Please.
back to this concept that we keep on talking about in dynamic energy budget about the relationship to the contact points, and so like we need to
Right.
map out and identify the ecosystem of Omega, and like these contact points, for instance, like Monday Imaginarium creative flow sessions is like the contact point for the NFT self discovery game, and also to kind of like um, getting in contact and see to who wants to work on like the website. Like that's what it is evolving into like right now. I think what is the most useful of that contact point of Imaginarium. But also too, we think about it of the threads that we have. And then like I think it's like consolidating and maybe even like densing the people that are interested in the similar work. Like for instance, I should because I have a relationship within the vacuum, but help him guide them to help Steph and everybody within like the visual aspect of the website, you know. But also too, I think what I think it's for us and Deb to to create like that visual kind of like map. I keep on going back to that one when Nick was showing the onboarding island, but I want it like a Sal, but it's like what the contact points of what's going on in Omega, and hopefully like later this becomes like the compass to like navigate the the library I see. And
But
so
that
like
already exists, though. That's what the archipelagos are.
yeah. Yeah,
But
but what I'm
using
saying
it.
is like an easy one for all of us to like. Well, I mean, we're already saying it, but it's like the cheat sheet to it, right? So the image that of like the compass. So I view it should be more like looking like a sound, but a compass is fine too, you know. And that is like the what we were talking actually earlier in dynamic energy budget is to identify those points of that we already have structures like we're talking about. We're not necessarily labeling and defining them structurally in a list, but we do have ways that we're already doing it. The what I'm referring to, the contact points of the day. Every week we have open meeting on Mondays. We have the two kind of meetings today, and within that, we have the asynchronistic contact points of the threads, also coupled with the Figma board and the Miro board. Like this is our landscape of how we navigate directing our energies towards this project. Like these are this is the landscape, and these are the areas where people are already directing their energies towards. And yeah, but like that visual of I don't know the circle. I can go back to the circle in the south. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways,
So, and the
yeah.
boards, like, where do you see the boards that that spun up now in the work on the Conscience Library?
It's in the Consilience Library thread. Let me just keep scrolling up, and I'll grab it and paste it on the doc here.
Yeah, no, the question is more like when you say we have identifiable contact points, the synchronous, the meetings, the async, the conversations, and the threads. But these boards that we share somehow also pin ideas onto places and by people. How can we make how can we accept that these are also contact points or artifacts, and we need a sort of agreement on how to exchange on those as well, or simpler, like we have the meetings, we have the conversations and threads, and then we have the boards that people either use for their own ideations or collaboratively, right? So when we have the TE Consilience library as part of the archipelago onboarding, right? And but like the question is, should we continue working within the island TE Consilience library and the board, and connect all other boards, even if if you say I like to work alone, which is totally okay, good, but this is what I'm currently working on, or these are the areas I'm currently working on. This is the input that I require. This is what is coming out, and have a look at it, because I think it is going to be the input of this or that. So I mean, when we work, we have an idea of what it is, where we're at, and how it connects to other pieces, either on the same board or other connected boards. So do we have an agreement on that? Because for me, hearing, it sounds like that might be the issue of um, um, yeah, a bit of a loss in translation in communication.
For me,
Or
I
correct
think
me if I'm totally
Yeah,
I think the
yeah.
issue is or would you like to go ahead, Satori?
No, I was just gonna say it's like how to translate the different areas of the Figma board, right? Like I could translate like how to read my board. Like what I did last time was like, okay, this is how you like this is how you started from the beginning, and this is what that means, and then it kind of breaks down like that, blah blah blah, and then I go on how I broke up the narrative of what I'm probably talking about, what we talked about in Omega. Anyways, but the same thing, like,
okay.
so that's for like
I just
short tutorial. I don't know.
sorry.
What were you gonna say,
No,
Nick?
I think again, coming from one or more weeks off, but in entirely different working environments. Number one, I think this is really where we are at, figuring out our mandalas, like personal self-organization. How do I organize my work? And then how do I share it with others, so we actually get not to a Creative Commons, right, but a collaborative commons. And again, that is something you can search for it. Collaborative commons, it's a blank canvas identified by Jeremy Rifkin, and I think this is exactly what we're doing, but there is no explanation of it yet, or explication of it. It is happening, and we're struggling through it. And within Omega, especially with this whole regenerative workflow research, etc., the whole point is that we don't give in and say, hey, this is duplicate work. I think we should have a forwarker and a task scheduler, and let's not fall back. Let's don't give up. We're gonna get there. It is different. It is different than just pure creative work. Yes, bring your creativity, but in a way that others can find their interface or their contact points too. And it is one way. It's like
But
I
it
think
is
it's
kind
a
of
bigger issue,
paradox,
though.
right? Sorry, Nick. Let me express this idea because we were like very 100% into let's be different. Let's have this space that is something different than meetings. I have this creation and collaboration. And then we face ourselves with this whole thing, the Web3, decentralization, I don't know, name it, that we want to structure everything to be engineered. So it's like if our soul is not going the same way, we're gonna face this in the essence. It's like we want to do things differently, but still we have the same blockers way. So if we go to the solutions that are near and technical, we will be killing innovation and creativity in a way because we were here like big saying, okay, Omega is different and we have the wisdom in a way and we don't want only the same knowledge. So I feel like we are grappling with a paradox really. And that's the essence of the blocker.
And there's a great saying about paradoxes. Physicists said, hey, a paradox, great. Now we have something when we go through, we will have a new insight and a new paradigm. Okay, so I think it is, the thing is, we can always decide, do we want to just make a library? Let's make a library. Like, you know, spread out the task, get the job done, be done with it. But our experiment is really, while we're doing it, can we please figure out what it is, how we want to do it differently? Because right now, we're doing the same thing that a big Siemens global conglomerate is doing. You know, we call it working groups, we call it stewards, what have you, but it's like groups being managed, someone saying what needs to be done, others agreeing to it, and then getting the job done. It's not, Siemens is really good at it. It's organizing over 350,000 people globally and makes billions and billions and billions. So if we're just going to replicate this, you know, that would, I don't think that's why we're here. We're here really to figure out what it is that we're seeing, that we're struggling, that to get out. Yeah, and it's not tools and processes doing everything for us, automate all the things. Let the techie view coming into this. Okay, it's shattered. That's not gonna happen. But we're not gonna go back to politics either. So what is it that we're laboring here? It is something.
Sebnem, I mean,
otherwise we wouldn't be.
When you say that Siemens was organizing X thousand of employees, I was wondering, how much a big corporation create wealth because they do organize employees. I mean, I'm wondering where the wealth is coming from. That's just a question I wanted to raise. This idea of organizing people, what does that mean, and what is the imagination, and where does it connect to in industrial or post-industrial society? And
yeah, again, big research question. People are starting just asking themselves, and we have the opportunity here to live, apply it, and figure it out. So it's great. Having that opportunity in a lifetime. And then it's about self-organization. Look up these words: self-organization, collaborative commons. They are saying the things that we need, but there is no how-to, no manual. It's not have been figured out yet. There are things like teal organizations, etc. But yeah, I don't want to derail. Sorry, I just wanted to say this is a great opportunity. This is a great task, challenge for the regenerative workflows research group to actually dig into this, and I'm keen. So I just wanted to offer offer that I see.
I would like to add maybe What I sometimes feel is that we get confused between when we're thinking or kind of like brainstorming or posting a lot of things, or making a lot of material. I think that's a very creative and a very free-flowing kind of form of work. But at the moment that it's about like getting things done, like having this meeting also implies that like Discord is working. We're actually using some kind of interface that has been developed. If we're thinking about creating a library or a game or a website, then we can free flow within it when it exists. So I'm constantly trying to, how to say, like, I think the gratification or the energy flows back when we're actually working on something that is existing, and if that is a thing that needs to be built within Omega, it requires some kind of form of work, which also needs to be made with tools that are, yeah, that are standardized at this moment. So otherwise, we really need to build everything from scratch, which would be kind of a crazy thing to do. So just to say, like, sometimes I feel that I just need to keep working, which can be maybe a bit like frustrating, until that there is some kind of result which can be then put into a group and be like commented upon or kind of like analyzed and put apart or like free flowing again. So like that's a bit like what I feel sometimes where we get lost, where we're talking about things, have new ideas, and a week later we didn't really come to something that is fruitful. So it's always like plucking fruits before they're really there. So that's a bit like how I sometimes feel in this process. Just to say, like, from my point of view, I'd rather keep working onto something when, with an artwork also, like when the artwork says like, okay, the artwork is kind of ready to be abandoned, it's never finished. When the artwork is there to, you know, in this Marcel Duchamp kind of a thing, when the artwork says like, okay, now it's time to do something else, then it's an artwork. With the library, I feel it's like we're always getting there, but it's never coming to a point where it's actually something that we can really have a discussion about.
I think there's like three big questions. Personally, like, firstly, we are doing an experiment, but at what cost? Like, what are we using to, I guess, make the experiment alive? Secondly, I think it's not just a problem of, oh, we don't have a one place where we all put our work in. It's more like we have a diversity of thought here. How do we decide on which thought to move forward? Since everyone has knowledge to bring in, how do we know how to move forward now that we've got all the knowledge then? Do we choose one? Do we vote on them? Like, what do we do?
That's what the consensus building is, right? And the meaning of consensus is feeling together. I mean, and that's what I corrected. So we have individuals' works, and as Steph said, they need to be worked on until the individual feels it can be shared, right? So, and then when it is shared and there has been work on similar topics, do you see that as duplicate, or do you see that, hey, interesting, I want to look into it, what is it that we could be collaborating on, what is it that we could be jamming on, and so on, and do we have that kind of agreement or protocol for that? It seems like what I hear is, okay, multiple people worked on design, and it is duplicate work, or is it an invitation to see how one can collaborate? And then also the question, could the people have, would it make a difference if you knew that every one of those were working on some part of the design or architecture and so on, by actually sharing their boards directly, or being on the same board?
Was hast du gesagt?
Sorry, Lydia, you were saying something?
Sorry, you cut out, Letty.
No, it was Lydia, I think.
Oh, Lydia? We
Yeah.
can't hear you.
Yes, no, sorry. I was a bit late because I had some traffic jams. I joined later. And no, because I was just to take up the idea of, let's say, having more qualitative research and doing like these focus groups. So Felix and me are thinking maybe to together organize, let's say, in the next upcoming months, to focus groups. I don't know what you have like discussed during the last month. If it's still something that's interesting for you.
Exactly. Definitely the focus groups are for the token engineering ethical principles. It would be great to have, maybe I put it just on the agenda for next week. And if you can share, I'll tag you in the chat. If you can share a bit like what it is that you wanted to look in, I think we could definitely use some collaboration support there. Would be great.
I would have, so I have a question that I have to do some research over summer, or I want to do also around the time that the tokens from the hatch unlock. So I want to, let's say my broad question is how does private profit play out against common benefit? And I think that this unlocking is a great moment where you can see how major token holding addresses behave, and also have interviews before that and after, or focus groups. And I'm still wondering whether some of that could be relevant for what you want to find out as well, or rather if I could frame my question so that it fits you. But I don't think that this would be your core focus, right?
That fits with Mert's research, right?
We have collected, yeah, exactly. We have collected some topics like this whole incentive mechanisms and mechanisms shaping our behavior, but also our mindset shaping those, having shaped those incentives, especially with token engineering ethics. Token engineering commons, and that is one major topic that Mert wants to take up.
Mert.
And it would be fantastic to have a focus group around that. Maybe the I think the incentive questions or behavior shaping architectures that we create is a bigger question, and then concretely we ask, okay, the design of the hedge and the incentives and the rules that we put in place that provided some behavior, how is it going to change, or how will these participants behave during those decisive changes, right? That would be fantastic. And if you can add it in the chat, either in Omega or if you want in token engineering ethics and principles topic, we could definitely form and find maybe either sub questions in those focus groups, but definitely plays well. And what I need to do is also publish the summary of the first focus group that we did and the subsequent work, some of the token engineering ethical principles and practice sessions. So I'm hoping that we get some more of those obvious questions, big questions, and it would be great to have your point of view, like if those are interesting to take up in your research. Would be great when we have a proper analysis. Okay.
Okay, so shall Lydia and me prepare something from our side for next week then?
Yeah. Okay. And if you can share it already in the
Yep.
in the thread, it will become a topic definitely on the agenda anyways, because we've been working on it. So please share actively, and it will be then on the agenda. Okay.
Okay.
And I can also focus more on that. Then we would be getting back. Perfect.
Great. Thanks.
All right, so we have 6 minutes till the end of the call. Anyone else like to mention anything in the final minutes?
How is the collective curation going? Any news there, or about the collection? So what is interesting is I am having some private DMs or DMs with Incandenza, right? And actually he is pretty active in the curations, and he points out those things that he shared in the curations. So I think it definitely is is useful, right? But maybe it is really just too hidden. And I wanted to ask Nick about the Discord idea, to have a Discord for the library where actual channels for entire curations can happen, and more than our Omega curation. Should we go?
Oh, well, I just wanted to create like a Discord server where people can start, learning from the content and curating content, but since it's separate, it's a bit more clear, like the user flow for it.
Yeah.
And we can also start implementing like ways to like observe, I guess, the energy flow, as you could say, and yeah, and then from there use our learnings to apply to the actual like library website. I can
So
write
I'm
up like a
then
clear I could do a write-up of the whole idea and then just post it on Omega if you do want to explore it more. But I stopped working on it because I thought we were just gonna build the website. So
okay. But I think we need it. Otherwise, if in my view, and it's not just my view, but it's it's actually a living wisdom. Just designing in our heads. What is it? We need a space where people are actively curating and actively using that curation. We need that space in whatever prototype form it has, and I think the Omega curation is happening, and people are referring to their curation, saying, "Hey, that reminds me
Yeah,
of the
we almost all share our collective curation. The thing is, like, we were focusing on the design because it was like, yes, transposing all these collective curation in the website to have first MVP, so it wasn't empty when some visitor just coming, right? So the thing was like our energies were focused on the design to transpose the content that was already there.
Yeah. But so I would definitely support that, and also bring in people, actual alpha users, as I mentioned, also have them active, because otherwise we're going to design things, maybe they are novel, etc., but only in our designer's head, and that's something we say token engineers shouldn't do, and I think UX designers shouldn't do either. So let's get the space where people actually are interacting with curations for the library and using those curated content and express how they want to navigate it or what they
Yeah,
find
we were
difficult.
grappling really with the conundrum on how to make the invisible visible, because we were like focusing on to these technical things, and we were like analyzing that the invisible thing was not make it visible. So that was our other conundrum.
Yeah.
Post.
What is the invisible thing for? Because I was gone for a week.
Yeah, that was when
And
we
as you know,
were.
I'm game.
Yeah, when we were going through this ideas for the website to come to some kind of specifics, or like the whole idea of getting this library thing is to tell to these designers what are the characteristics. But then there was this idea of some kind of game engine with edges and invisibility in between, which is quite far from where we're at. So I don't like, from my point of view, it's like really coming to something that we can talk about, like, do we want this to be part of the website or not? So I don't
But
really
who is
know how.
we? I mean, who is we? The few designers, or actually those who we want to build this for? People curating for the library and people using the curation, right? So that's
Yeah, like,
the
yeah,
pitfall or the
the
pattern that we go back to.
Yeah, yeah, the paradox and the question there is between like, okay, like what do we send if we want somebody to interact with the curation? Like, what do we send this person? Is it a Google document? Is it like a yacht form, or is it kind of integrated
No,
in a
it's
website? Like, what is this kind of first
yeah.
contact with the library?
I mean,
Are all
what
those
is it?
questions first?
Yeah, but what is it now? Like the Google Docs that we send out prove to be absolutely not engaging anyone, even us.
Yeah, so
What works is the channel where people just drop their curation and ask or interact. And we should definitely, all signal it is working. People are interacting with those curations. Like let's make that a space. I would definitely go for it before stepping back again and say we don't know what. I mean, we have tried the Google Docs. No, we have tried the channel. Yes, it works better. People are engaging. Let's get more people to do their curations, but doing it in tech is going to be difficult. And if we have a Discord server for doing curations and interacting as alpha testers with those curations and expressing wants and needs, that is where we will get information about how people interact with the transdisciplinary knowledge. And again, also when we have people there interacting, then we can, play around with them, with the balloons, Satori's balloons, right? About self-discovery as a game through knowledge.
Is this happening because I'm confused now with, like, Murty was kind of building with wireframe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I got confused too
It
because I thought
can
we were just
happen.
doing the website. So
Yeah, like for
Yeah,
me,
I
I
mean,
don't get
but,
them.
but there is not. I mean, why would wireframing confuse us?
well, because
I
it's
mean,
more
it
like a
is.
website. So then it's like, oh, there's a direction we're going now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end, it should be a website, but should be people wait until the website is finished, or can we make steps where curations and interaction with curations can happen while we are again also interacting with, how could this look and feel and the wireframes and so on.
Yeah, makes sense. But what wasn't clear is like this what I mean with the earlier question. Like we have a diversity of ideas, but like which one are we moving forward with?
Mhm.
It wasn't clear that like just because just because Mert is doing that doesn't mean no other ideas can move forward anymore. Like it
Exactly.
doesn't mean that's it. That's the end. That's where we're going, guys. Like, but we did
Exactly.
know
And
that.
at the end,
And
sorry,
also taking into account the levels of energies we have, because I think that's like critical right now, at least for me.
So
Okay, but then
so
for a wire, for an architecture or a wireframe, do I just build templates that all these things then can that people can onboard through the website, and then later on we can eliminate features? Or at which point, or is it going to be sent to a web designer? Because for me, just to know like how much of it is kind of like part of this library thing, like which kind of processes happen and what isn't. So, or maybe I just keep building until I really don't know anymore if it can include all of it, and then we see what's useful. Or
yeah, please share what you're building, and you should be building it for someone, right? And interact with those people to get feedback from them is super important. I am telling this to every token engineer, and actually, every designer and UX designer knows that as well. The other thing, playing around, getting creative. I want to play with this. Total freedom, but then that's the freedom that you take, right? But if you're building features for people to use, who are those people? Right? And again, the library is actually super straightforward. In a sense, there's curated material, meaning there's a curated journey. Meaning people actually curate content. Who are these people?
Yeah, that was the
You don't
reason
tag
we were
them.
like kind of focusing on building an MVP that we ourselves could use to keep the creations going. That's why the design is like a little mix up, because we were designing this for ourselves to build creation. That's the reason why.
Yeah, okay. So basically, yeah, I would always follow, or not fall back, but I would always follow the simplest prototype, which would be really just channels and people doing curations, and some people keeping track of nothing being lost. Um, and again, it can be limited to people and curations, so there is no wasted effort or anything. But without curators and without people looking and engaging with those curations, uh, thinking about features, again, there's the novelty aspect. That's why it is totally welcome and free flowing. The creative flows, the sync points are there for that. But at some point, when you have something that is a feature, you have to find someone who's going to use it and ask them what they think, right? And that is something we should maybe help each other a bit more. So Steph, if you feel that might have been the issue, let's rethink.
no, I don't think it's an issue. It's just something to consider going forward. Like if in Nick's architecture that there's this wallet, that there should be some kind of form that then also a curation can enter through this, or
yeah. Well, like I don't know if you saw the updates on that, but basically I've been saying I think it would help with confusion if like Steffi continue like helping with Mert and Satori and Letty, and then I can just like take that out and like kind of work on it as a personal project, because I think that idea might be like I guess like energy heavy, or it requires a lot of energy, and it's something that I can do personally, but like I'm not sure if I'm being clear. I can do that project personally. You don't have to spend energy on it. Maybe it would be best if you directed
yeah.
energy
Okay, for
towards
me, no,
Mert. Yeah.
it was very inspiring to see, because it looked like something that had a lot of things to be built upon. So for me, it was a kind of motivator to say,
Oh,
okay, now
okay.
there's some kind of framework that I can really put the energy through, and then there's many
Got
ways
it.
to connect to this and to build on it. So for me, it clarified a lot of things, and I saw it as a
Oh,
kind of
okay.
way of getting some orientation, because otherwise I feel I'm just kind of like building things and I don't really. Of course, like building just a library aspect is very easy. Like that's kind of the Miro board. That's like what's on your architecture on the left side. But then like the middle of like the whole games, there it also became very clear what kind of, it's just a kind of structure. Within that structure, there's like a lot of possibilities to make a lot of different things. But then to kind of keep things connected somehow, for me, it kind of made a lot of sense.
Okay, well, if it's not confusing and it's inspiring, that's good then. I was just gonna take it out because I thought it's confusing people. Sweet.
Good that we gave each other feedback on that then. So, question that came up as well before we go, I would like to put it. Do you think is it possible that we get together just for the token entering conscience library and go through, all the artifacts that have come out and clarified? It would be really sad if people are saying, okay, I should take this out because it's confusing, whereas it actually was motivating and so on. See, so I would say if